Broadcast 17, Socialism for the 21st Century. The global capitalist crisis has moved into its third stage. The first stage of the crisis was to offload the burden of their financial collapse on the working people. Huge transfers of public money to the banks took place, but the funds were not used to ease credit. Quite the contrary. The banks refused to extend credit to thousands of companies, driving them into bankruptcy. As a consequence, millions of people lost their jobs. What followed can only be described as the biggest attack on the working class in the history of capitalism. The Labour Party, which facilitated the billion-pound robbery of public funds when they were in power, is light years away from organising any opposition. Shackled by reams of anti-union legislation, the trade union movement is incapable of defending jobs and hard-won rights. The second stage of the crisis consists of governments driving through austerity programs which are further eating into the social fabric of society, destroying essential jobs, services and institutions. IMF and World Bank are imposing these measures on states regardless of the huge cost to the people. Under the slogan, "We're all in this together," the ruling class is enforcing policies which aim at the wholesale destruction of the livelihoods of working people. The use of hundreds of thousands of young unemployed, coerced by job centres to work for their allowance pittances, exposes the collusion between government and employers. In the same secret manner, the carpetbaggers in government are turning everything from our National Health Service to our universities over to private profiteers. Expecting opposition and resistance to this destruction of livelihoods, real values, basic human rights, governments are getting their heads together to work out strategies of not merely enslaving people, but criminalizing their rightful struggle. The representatives of the G8 nations have come together at Camp David to discuss how to take on the working class with its armed bodies of men. This is stage 3. In Italy, military, police and intelligence officials are hammering out an emergency security plan for combating what they call anarchic attacks, which are in reality protests against banks, tax offices and companies planning large-scale closures. In Spain, the conservative government is promising to tighten up laws on public protest. Athens now resembles a garrison town with riot police stationed on every corner. In Chicago, Rahm Emanuel, once Obama's right-hand man, now mayor of Chicago, has brought in a whole raft of new powers against protesters against the G8 summit. And although the summit took place at Camp David instead, these powers will stay and are already enforced against protesters against the NATO summit in Chicago. Let's see what these new powers include. Authorization for the mayor to purchase and deploy surveillance cameras throughout the city without any type of oversight. Restrictions on demonstrations, including the requirement to purchase an insurance policy worth $1 million to register every sign or banner that will be held by more than one person. The power to deputize many different types of law enforcement personnel other than the Chicago Police Department. In answer to this open declaration of class war, I say, we are all in this together, from the Greeks to the Irish, the Russians to the Chinese, from the Egyptians to the citizens of the US of A. We must reject the capitalist formula for survival of the richest, which is nothing short of destruction of the social fabric of society. Forward to a united socialist Europe, where peace and progress is valued and the human spirit is unbowed. Thank you.